Greetings from the Philippines to the world. We are on Facebook Live on Eagle News and Net25 TV and also on our streaming site, eaglenewslive.com. Watch us on our YouTube channel at Net25 TV. I am Cesar Vallejo, so welcome to Open for Business. Join me discover the latest news and information in business around the world. Stay ahead of the curve from vision to action. Traffic jams have been a major concern for us commuters and for the country as a whole. Thanks to motorcycle taxi services, we arrive and even our packages and deliveries reach their destinations on time. Even during the early phases of the lockdowns, bikers saved the day as essential services reached families to stay afloat and kept the economy running. In this episode of Open for Business, we have the voice that represents the country's motorcycle riders and owners whose efforts revolutionized the Philippines' mass public transport system. One of the 7 The Outstanding Young Men or TOYM honorees for 2020, George Soroyeca, the Chief Transport Advocate of Angkas, will join us this week in Open for Business.
Events happen around us all the time, in our community, in our country, around the world. Events that affect people, move communities, or simply inspire us. Interesting events that people need to know. In these interesting times, we continue to be a competent partner in delivering news about these events. Fast, accurate, balanced. Eagle News, because we live in interesting times.
Happy Fist! May i-deliver akong items sa inyo dahil ako ang inyong celebrity on delivery sa PM is the Key sa Happy Time. That's on Monday at 12 noon only at Net25.
Happy time, happy time,
Grabe, saludo ko. At hindi siya pangkaraniwan.
Talagang intense na intense. Parang napapanood ko lang siya sa mga international performance.
Hindi ko alam bakit ako kinakabahan. Hindi naman ako yung contestant. Sobrang bawa ko.
This is Tagisan ng Galing Part 2 Dance Edition!
Sa mundong waring walang puwang para sa kanilang pagmamahalan, sapat pa ang tibok ng kanilang mga puso upang bumuo ng daigdig nilang sarili. Inihahandog ng Eagle Broadcasting Corporation ang kauna-unahang romantic teleserye ng Net25. Ang Daigdig Ko'y Ikaw. Tuwing Sabado, 8:08 ng gabi, dito lamang sa Net25.
At ako'y laging sa'yo hanggang magpakailanman.
Open for Business is back, and with me is Mr. George Soroyeca, the Chief Transport Advocate of Angkas. How are you, George?
I'm good, Sir Cesar. I'm happy to be here on your show. Thank you very much for inviting me.
And congratulations for being one of the 7 outstanding young men of the Philippines. How does it feel to be so young, so accomplished, and be recognized as one of the 7 outstanding young men of the Philippines?
You know, I really feel so humbled. You know, it's a dream come true, honestly, to be recognized, for what we've been doing for the last 3 years. I think it's really going to help push the advocacy forward. You know, this is a big privilege and a great honor, and I really love being part of such a distinguished panel of honorees this year. It's very, very humbling to be among them. Thank you very much for thank you very much for choosing me. I mean, sometimes I'm still, I still can't believe it.
Yeah. So I think Miss Ann Tiangco will agree with me, but that you're not into this chest beating. But I really, we can say that TOIM is one of the most prestigious awards here in the Philippines, and a lot of accomplished young men are chosen. But I don't really want to delve on that because there's a lot of things that we'd like to ask you. And one of this is, of course, how you changed the people's perception about riding and owning motorbikes. So this used to be, some people call it a hazardous vehicle, but you have transformed it into an effective app-hailing site and really a disruptive model. Can you describe us your journey, how you go through it?
And it's really been quite a journey. With not just me, but really the community, the bikers. Before Angkas came along, there was really that negative stigma for riding motorcycles or back riding in motorcycles, and I think that entire segment has been really misunderstood. What we did was just really professionalize the industry, made sure that they had proper training, and ensured that our commitment to safety was unparalleled. No, that was really was the most important thing for us, and we stood our ground. We didn't cut any corners, and we proved that. If you train the Filipino people, you provide them the right tools. We always say Filipinos abroad, they excel, they get better. How come here in the Philippines, there's so much inefficiencies. But if you're really serious in education, if you're really serious in providing them the right tools and training, they become very, very productive citizens of our country, and they follow rules and regulation. And this is not my award or my merit or my accomplishment and achievement, but this is really the achievement of tens and thousands of motorcycle drivers that have proven that they can be safe on the road. We have a 99.997% safety record. That's a 0.003% accident rate versus the national average of over 50% of all accidents are motorcycle related. This is a testament that it can be done. It is being done, and I just hope that ito pong ginagawa po natin na 4 na taon sa Metro Manila and sa Cebu, makita po at mabigyan ng pansin ng gobyerno at it gets given the right recognition so that it can be the model, for every single municipality, every single city, every single corner of our country, where we can empower entrepreneurs, our fellow citizens, to become real entrepreneurs and make a good livelihood to take care of their families. Tayo po, dati we just open up an app and wanted to beat traffic, but it really became a advocacy to create jobs. And I think that's really been something that we hold most dear to our hearts, is that community of Filipinos wanting to make a decent living, a dignified livelihood, just to take care of their family. And I hope that the government really recognizes it, and we're really, I want this TOIM award to really give me a megaphone so that we can really make sure that the law is passed this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, speaking of, as you mentioned, megaphone, you are now the voice of a lot of people working in this industry. So my question now, George, is this, because you mentioned two things, you are addressing one that's the traffic jams. We don't necessarily experience it now because of probably because of the lockdowns, but on a normal day you still do. And the other one that you have addressed is providing livelihood to a lot of Filipinos. On your profile, one of your characteristics is your love for innovation, and this really is something very disruptive. How did you plan this? Was this really a result of you thinking of a disruptive model, or was this a result of you experiencing the same pain points that mga katulad din naming mga naglalakbay at naiinis sa traffic? Was this a result of that, or you're into, like other technopreneurs, you thought of this idea and came up with this app-based taxi service?
Alam mo, sir, for me, life is problem solving. And that's really what life is all about. It's a collection of problems that you solve. And, this creating a business is so hard. And I've always told this to my fellow entrepreneurs and aspiring entrepreneurs out there na kung gagawa na lang kayo ng negosyo, alam niyo nang mahirap yan, alam niyo nang that will really test you, might as well solve a problem. And when you solve a problem, you realize that people will come to you. People will gladly pay you for it, and you'll give benefit. It'll give you personal benefit. It'll give you professional benefit. It'll also benefit a lot of people. And there is no other place in the Philippines where we have such a big opportunity to solve problems, to tell you honestly. And I see that as an opportunity, And initially, I have to admit, it was just really sobrang traffic, and it seemed like a fantastic idea to use motorcycles to get around. And in fact, I did not invent habal-habal. It's been here for 20 years. It's been part of our culture. Everybody's ridden one, especially in the province, whether you're rich or poor. You had an encounter with the habal-habal one way or the other. It's just it evolved. I didn't know the extent of the issue when we started it, and also I didn't know why the government was so against it in the very beginning. And when I did my research, there are three laws, or there are three regulations that cover our motorcycle law, right? One is you should wear a helmet, you can't modify it, and you can only have one passenger. And when I went around the Philippines, I realized why the government was very hesitant and apprehensive to put their go signal, or their blessing to push it, as a public transportation, because those rules were violated rampantly across the board. And this is not because people wanted to violate. It was a lack of education and awareness. A lot of these people came from tricycles, and hindi naman po kailangan ng helmet dun. We have more than one passenger, and there is a modification, which is the sidecar. And then when we saw that, before it was like, galit sa amin gobyerno, galit sila sa innovation, but you really have to look at it from their perspective as well. May pinanggagalingan po yan. And when we realized that we're all coming from the same place, and what we wanted to do ultimately was the safety of our commuters, we had a meeting of the minds, and it took years. But then I'm glad that we took the time and effort to be able to understand each other. And as a result, we have a world-class system and one of the highest safety records in Asia for motorcycles with our company. And, I wouldn't trade that for any, shortcuts, because we went through the hardships, and we know, and all our bikers know what it takes to become a motorcycle taxi driver, and they're proud of it. And they wear that badge of honor every single day when they're courteous to their customers, when they're safe on the road. And that has not just given them a good profession, but it's made them a better person. And I think if we're able to put this kind of mindset in solving problems in our country, we'll really have a better place to live in.
Wow, that's really something enlightening. But you tackled some of the challenges that you have mentioned, and one of that is really dealing with government, dealing with policies. So, what has changed? I know that you were talking about. Was there a specific data, a study that was really helpful to change their minds? I know that dealing with a lot of policy restrictions and lobbyists and the community as well, and the civil society. Was there a study that you have presented, that somehow changed their minds? Because there might also be some models that are very effective in other countries. As a matter of fact, I think, of course, the ride-hailing service is not just here in the Philippines, although you pioneered it. But can you talk more about how you made that kind of effort, to help transform how the government and the policy makers really support this initiative?
I think everyone's coming from a good place. And again, it's just different perspectives, but we all want the same thing. A lot of people say that it's really hard to work with government. I think it's not just about government, but it's always a challenge to work with a big organization. And the government is clearly a big organization with a lot of moving parts. But really, I think it's just the determination of our drivers, the community. At the end of the day, it's all boiled down to safety, Cesar, no? And it's the safety record that really spelled the difference. And, a lot of people couldn't believe their eyes that they were seeing this running. And, our first customers, when we first started, our regular customers, our most loyal customers, would get dropped off 3 houses away from their homes kasi nahihiya sila or natatakot sila na pagalitan ng magulang nila. And now we have, CEOs, celebrities, personalities, business people, executives, and, from all demographics back riding motorcycles. And it's really, it's really just because it's a lot more efficient in navigating the traffic back then, pre-COVID periods. But then it was really the safety aspect that we just made sure that we didn't compromise. It was a longer route, but it was well worth that effort that we made. And now we're a model. There are other players in the industry that are doing exactly what we're doing exact trading that we're doing. And I hope that we become an inspiration to not just the motorcycle industry, but many, many other industries that needs to make sure that they have not only quality but the safety of their customers in mind.
George, speaking of safety, motorbikes and your app, saved the day, especially during the lockdowns. A lot of people would wanted deliveries on their homes, and somehow, it kept families afloat. It kept, the economy running. What were your initiatives during the pandemic? And there were a lot of people also in the industry, who had problems with their livelihood because of the lockdowns. But again, as the voice of the industry, you somehow initiated some changes and lobbied for the safety measures that not only benefits your organization but the industry. What were these initiatives, and do you think there's more of this kind of innovation? Because as we are observing, there are still lockdowns, quarantines, and in other reports around the world, there's a wave 2 and wave 3 already. So how do you think this is going to move in terms of the safety, as we say, in the new normal?
Again, before Angkas, was here, motorcycles were, that the perception of motorcycles was dangerous, and habal-habal was as a life or death situation or a life-threatening situation in many instances. And because we put in the safety measures and we innovated on the product. We use technology, we use our safety training, we professionalized it. It became safe for to be used as a public form of public transportation. COVID is no different. It's just another challenge for us. For us to show that we can move forward with our lives in a safe manner and live with COVID. I've been saying this from the very beginning, and because I didn't have much to do back then because our business was shut down temporarily because of the COVID situation. In fact, all public transportation was shut down for a time. I decided to, dig my heels in, roll up my sleeves, and work with the government to try to figure this out. In the beginning, nangangapa pa tayo lahat. We really didn't know anything about the virus. We didn't know what was going on. We didn't know to what extent or how long this would take. But as it progressed, we started getting more information. We started getting the medical community involved, and they started to, find out more about the virus. And here we are with the safety precautions, the protocols that we have. Wearing a mask, wearing a face shield, social distancing, and then keeping good hygiene, hand hygiene, and that has kind of like steered us through these lockdowns and openings and reopenings and lockdown again. And we've proven that we can weather the storm and we can be safe throughout. And that was a challenge for Angkas to be safe again. And then later on, we realized through many research, we worked with the UP College of Public Health and the IATF and the National Task Force. We came up with a safe design for a barrier. Our customers required to use their own helmets, which was a big blow to our ridership. Of course, because of the additional hurdle. But again, it's not the compromise in safety that we kind of, stood our ground. And we realized also that open air ventilation was very, very good, as a good atmosphere, to prevent COVID, the spread of COVID, So these were some of the factors that led to the eventual resumption of motorcycle taxis. And there was a lot of back and forth with the medical community, with the experts, with science. And then we did a lot of studies as well. And, it helped with the fact that I was helping the government try to figure things out, not just in motorcycle taxis, in public transportation and other aspects. Again, it's solving that problem, and we're not out of the woods yet. There's a very good vaccine program, a portfolio of vaccines that's coming up. Hopefully people would want to take it. Hopefully we get to that herd immunity and be able to stop this virus from spreading altogether. But I think there's already a lot of reopening happening, a lot of steps taken to reopen the economy and start commerce. And we've progressed quite a long while from where we were back then in the dark ages where everything was just locked down. And now I think we're better equipped. We have better knowledge about the situation, a better handle in it. We have localized lockdowns that we do implement to stave off further outbreaks. And it's a learning process, and we continue to learn new things every single day. There's new things about the virus that we learn on a daily basis. And what surprised me pleasantly is really the whole of nation approach, that everyone just came in and stepped in their own little way, in their own big way, in any way that they could. And the Bayanihan spirit was really, really shown and was really exemplified during this crisis. And I think that is one of the best takeaways that I can see. If there's anything positive that we can get out of this, it's we've learned how to work together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very exciting, George. But actually, even before you came in and the organization came in, we never really thought how big this market is. We have this data. There's 18 million Filipino motorcycle owners, riders. And what's your outlook? How big is the market? And even in the contribution to the economy, what are your projections? What's your outlook for the industry, especially for this year?
It blows my mind, how the symbol of prosperity and the symbol of economic progress, for millions of Filipinos, especially low-income families, is a motorcycle. 1 out of 3 Filipino families own a motorcycle, and over 50% use it or are dependent on it for livelihood, whether it's going to work, or doing transportation on the side, or doing deliveries. And it's also become a symbol of the new entrepreneur, from all of the different delivery platforms like Grab and Lalamove, and also Lazada and Shopee, and the delivery ecosystem that we have right now, especially during the COVID pandemic, where that has become front and center and become more important. This is the first thing that a low-income family household purchases, for as a first step in their path for economic freedom, or financial freedom. Malaki po yung impact nito sa ating mga hindi lang sa mananakay, pero sa mga trabahador po natin, mga nagtatrabaho, and I think there's far-reaching implications to making sure that we have the proper regulations, the proper laws, not just to protect the consumer, but also to protect the industry, to make the industry grow, to nurture this industry. And I think this is not just about traffic. When you go down to the provinces, Cesar, wala naman pong kotse eh. Diba? I mean, even just outside the Metro Manila, Region 4A, pagpunta niyo po ng Bulacan, ng Cavite, ng Laguna, naku, dun sa main road, nagtatabi-tabi na po lahat ng mga dealerships po natin, mga motorcycle dealerships left and right. It's what everybody uses outside of Metro Manila. And we are a motorcycle, country. It's just that we don't see it in Metro Manila kasi, 50% of all cars naka-concentrate po sa Metro Manila. Across 7,000 islands, nandun po 50% na sa Metro Manila po. And there are only 3 million cars, Cesar, versus 18 million motorcycles. And all of them is concentrated and scattered across 7,000 islands. So I think, not just directly the motorcycle industry where you buy motorcycles, not just the delivery industry or the transport, but yung enabling force ng motorsiklo na i-empower po yung ating mamamayan na magtrabaho, na pumunta sa trabaho at maging mobile po. Napaka-importante po nito at talaga pong kailangan po natin maging unified, to become an 18 million strong voice, so that we can create the necessary regulations and legislations to make sure that makuha po natin lahat ng benepisyo at ma-maximize po natin to para sa ating mamamayan at mga kapatid. And this is something that is, that will take them out of poverty, and this is something that will enhance their lives. I believe that very, very close to my heart, very, very strongly. And I continue to fight for that every single day po, Cesar.
Mm-hmm. Interesting, George. Not only did you pioneer this industry, but you also somehow impacted on the other services. So ngayon, maraming mga maliliit na negosyante na bumibili na rin ng mga motorbikes. Is there also a study on the impact of how motorcycle manufacturers helped you, or is there in terms of synergy between manufacturers and service providers like you? How do you describe that synergy? Is there also a mindset, that this related industries face the challenges together?
Alam niyo, hindi po hindi po natin magagawa lahat na nagawa natin in the last 4 years that we've been operating and we've been advocating for motorcycle legislation, kung hindi po tayo tinulungan ng manufacturers, hindi po tayo tinulungan ng mga hobbyists, mga enthusiasts, mga motorcycle rights organizations all over the country, nagpulong-pulong po tayo, and there was real synergy, especially in Congress, in Senate, in the technical working groups. The commuter groups were, front and center, side by side with us, in trying to push our rights, and definitely we've learned a lot from them, especially from the manufacturers in terms of the safety factor of the motorcycles, what's being done abroad, in other countries, in other bigger economies in the Philippines, wherein motorcycle is at the heart at the center of a lot of the economic progress. And I think we're just seeing the beginning of a mega industry that will create ripples to other aspects of our lives, no? Sabi niyo nga, sa not only directly sa motorsiklo, but yun nga po magiging mga negosyante na ngayon po kaya na po nila i-deliver yung mga goods nila sa mga iba't ibang lugar, no? I mean, last mile is very, very important. Marami po tayong magagaling na courier services, pero they still rely on the Lala Moves and the Angkases and the Grabs of the world to be able to get their packages to the homes. And I think this is something that the government is recognizing. And the private sector like us continue to work hand in hand with the government to make sure that the necessary laws are in place to to nurture this potential, no? Kailangan po natin ma-realize yung potential nito. The only way we can do it is if we work together. Katulad po ng ginawa natin sa COVID at ginagawa po natin sa paglaban dito sa virus na to is the whole of society and whole of nation approach, and this is no different. And I call on everybody to be able to help really lift up our lives, no? Lahat po tayo apektado dito eh. Kahit mayaman ka, magpapa-deliver ka po sa Lazada at sa Shopee. So mayaman, mahirap, apektado po tayo kung anong mga mangyayari sa motorsiklo or mga regulasyon around motorcycles. Yung Jollibee po natin, our famous Chicken Joy and our McDonald's, lahat po yan dinideliver po sa atin ng motorsiklo. So lahat po tayo apektado dito.
Yeah, agree. So one of the important things also that you mentioned, George, is the concept and the behavior of Filipinos and the values of Filipinos in terms of discipline. Kasi di ba isa nga ito sa major content ng training mo. And the transformation of how Filipinos look at the motorbike as safe and secure vehicle. Now it's transformed into this delivery or ride-hailing service. Hindi ba bakit malaking issue ang disiplina sa mga Pilipino? Not that I am calling on some of the members of the community or Filipinos in terms of the lack of discipline, but how did you transform that kind of perception, and how hard was it for you to come up with this it could be a training module or an educational module to really make Filipinos or both the riders, owners, and also the people who are riding them in terms of discipline? Kasi sabi mo nga, ang habal-habal matagal na nandyan, pero ang disiplina not necessarily andyan. So I think that kind of discipline is the value that we needed, that we should be reminded with, so that we have to professionalize the industry. How did you do it in terms of training?
Alam niyo po, Sir Cesar, one word: education. Discipline was a symptom of lack of knowledge, lack of training. Hindi rin po natin masisi dahil a lot of them looked at motorcycles, lived with motorcycles, grew up with motorcycles a certain way. And lalo na po sa pinaka farthest regions of our country, they had to make do. Papunta po sila akit ng pabundok, motorsiklo, linagyan po natin ng kahoy at naging Skylab. They didn't know any better. But Filipinos, are very resilient that way. They're very innovative, very creative. Madiskarte po tayo eh. Kung ano man yung nandyan sa atin, ginawan po natin ng paraan in the best way we know how. Pero ang nakita po namin, napakadali po na mapalit yung mindset na yon once na nag-offer po tayo ng tamang patakaran. At tinuro po natin ng maayos. Hindi po yung gagawa po tayo ng patakaran tapos walang may alam. And we just pretend that it's magic na biglang malalaman na lang po ng lahat ng tao. We took a lot of pains and a lot of work in making sure that we trained each and every one of them. In fact, in the first 3 years, we trained over 100,000 motorcycle bikers for free. And we only passed 30,000. So we failed 70%. Pero libre po yan. Pwede sila mag-training ulit. Pwede sila ulit-ulitin lang nila yan hanggat makuha po nila. At least nabahiran po sila ng training at sa daan, mas alam na po nila yung kailangan nilang gawin. And you know, you'll be surprised how easy it was for them to be quote-unquote undisciplined kuno. Pero hindi po sila undisciplined. Hindi lang po talaga nila alam yung tamang patakaran. And yung tinuro po sa kanila yon, sumunod naman. And Angkas is a true testament of that, you know, the Filipino spirit, no, in terms of really be wanting to have a better life, wanting to take care of their family, and yung sipag po nila at tiyaga. Mahirap po maging motorcycle taxi biker. You know, bilad po kayo sa araw for 10 hours, 8 hours. Hindi po siya madali na under the sun, and you know, and they get paid for it. And they love their job and they take pride in their job kasi alam po nila gaano kahirap yung ginagawa nila at gaano kahirap maging biker ng Angkas, and that has become a model and inspiration. Alam niyo po, pag nakikita ng mga ibang bikers na tinatawag nilang kamote, yung Angkas biker na sumusunod sa daan, sila po yung nahihiya at sumusunod na rin. So not only do we train them, but we also try to make sure that we always lead by example. And that has become a shining beacon for everybody else. And I'm happy and I'm glad that somehow we made some impact in the industry and for everybody else to make the road safer for our commuters and for our motorists.
George, I noticed that there's so much passion and love and pride when you talk about the Filipino. Where is this coming from? As a matter of fact, I see that you are also a champion of nationalism. As a matter of fact, you have this local movement, Brand Pilipinas. Where is this coming from? Is this a part of your training, or is this based on your upbringing, your education? What was or what is your inspiration in terms of branding and good branding for the Philippines?
I mean, I think it's just really the community. You know, yung pagmamahal po natin sa sariling atin, I think is in each and every one of us. Nakaka-frustrate lang po minsan. But if you get over that frustration, if you turn that frustration into passion, and you turn that frustration into action, you'll be able to accomplish a lot of things. And for me, ang nagbago po sa aking pananaw is yung dating tambay na kinakatakutan po natin, na pinamasama po natin yung tingin natin, ngayon ay we depend, or we give our trust to them when we back ride on a motorcycle, entrusts our lives to them. That really changed my perspective. Anybody can be a better citizen if given the right tools. And dapat yun po yung isipin natin. Kung kaya po nating magbigay ng tamang gabay, kung kaya po natin magbigay ng tamang suporta, then we should take it upon ourselves to do so. And if we do so, we impact one person, 2 people, 3 people, that's enough. And if every single Filipino thinks that way and they impact another person, then definitely we'll have a bright future ahead of us. I don't know where it comes from. I see it every single day, and I see it in the dedication of our bikers through thick and thin, on and off. Alam niyo po, yung nag-COVID at nasirado po yung negosyo namin, nasirado po yung community namin, natigil po yung pagmumotor. Sanay na po kami dun eh. Ilang beses na po kami natigil eh. Para po kami na nakapag-practice para dito sa pandemya na to. mahirap po siya and masakit at mahabang daan at malubha yung pagsasama namin, but that strengthened us. You know, it really strengthened our resolve to push forward, and that has never stopped. You know, I would tell you, I'm not gonna lie, there's so many times that I wanted to quit, but you can't when you have 30,000 people depending on you, 30,000 families. And, you know, now it's, you know, the implications of 18 million, potentially 18 million lives that you can enhance is something that is no joke. You know, you can't just turn your back away from that.
No, that's inspiring, George. Now, one of the advantages of being young like you is your expertise in innovation and technology with technopreneurs like you. Anong may papayo mo sa mga maliliit ding negosyante or students of entrepreneurship who want to go into business? There's an advantage, especially now during the pandemic, that a lot of things are connected to the internet. If you're not on the internet, you're out. So is this the future, and what will be next for your organization? Are we looking at Angkas Food, Angkas Clothing, or any other brand? What's your next innovation, George?
Alam niyo po, you know, to all budding entrepreneurs there, mga negosyante na gusto magtayo ng negosyo na wala ng trabaho, ang advice ko lang sa inyo, just do it. Gawin nyo lang. You have to start. Start it now. You're gonna make mistakes. Mahirap po yan. And you can leverage. Right now is the best time to create a business. Kasi everything's online. Lahat po can use technology. Matanda, mahirap. Matanda, bata, mahirap, mayaman. May alam, walang alam. YouTube po. Lahat po. Nalalaman na po natin kung paano gumawa ng isang bagay sa YouTube lang. There's so many platforms out there like Shopee, Lazada that allows you to become sellers, to give you a storefront automatically. There's so many delivery platforms there that can expand your market from your street or to your neighbors to, you know, the rest of the country and even the world. But you got to start with, you know, just starting. And for me, that's really the best thing that you can do, no, as an entrepreneur. Wag po tayo matakot kasi we're all in the same place right now. Parehong lugar, iba-ibang barko. Yung iba mas nakayate, yung iba mas maganda yung barko, yung iba you know, isang ano lang, kahoy. Pero we're in the same storm. And we can make use of technology if we just do it. I think for tech, this is the best time because there's so much tech out there that can help us. No, now we don't have to invent anything. We don't have to program anything. We can just go to the internet and use it. So talaga pong exciting po itong time na to. At marami po tayong oras kasi nasa bahay lang po tayo. So ang dami po natin pwedeng i-sideline. Wala na pong traffic ngayon kasi Zoom to Zoom na lang po yung meeting natin. Kaya mas marami po tayo nagagawa, pero always make sure to balance out your life. Huwag masyadong puro trabaho, huwag laging on kasi masisiraan din po tayo ng bayat doon na kailangan din po tayo ng konting relaxation and balance lang po. But then just do it to all entrepreneurs. Do it right now. Don't wait.
Wow, perfect. Inspiring. Now, my last question, George, because we're running out of time. Aside from being the voice of millions of motorcycle riders in the Philippines, you are also a TOIM honoree. It's one of the most prestigious awards here in the Philippines, being the Outstanding Young Men here in the Philippines. What's next for George Royeca?
Again, I feel, you know, you're so privileged and so honored and very, very humbled because I'm among such distinguished honorees, no, you know, experts in leaders in their fields, and really the social entrepreneurship spirit of a lot of my colleagues, you know, this year is just unparalleled. You know, ako po yung pinaka madali na trabaho sa kanila po, mas mahirap di hamak, no. But I really want to use whatever platform I can get my hands on, Cesar, to bring me to shows like you so that I can shed a light on the plight of millions of motorcycle drivers, millions of low-income family households, and millions of people that don't have access to jobs and a good livelihood. And I want to dignify it. I want to legitimize it. I want to make sure that the government recognizes it. Hindi na po natin pwedeng hindi bigyan ng pansin itong milyong-milyon na tao na to na wala pong ginagawa or walang gustong gawin kundi pag-aralin yung kanilang anak, magbigay ng pagkain sa kanilang pamilya, sa kanilang dinner table, and to just really, help their families, get out of poverty. And I think through motorcycles, one motorcycle at a time, ano man yung gustong gawin nyo dyan, as long as you have the government protecting you, you have laws and regulations that are making it safe for everybody. Just level the playing field, just create the platform for everybody to excel is next for me. The business is always going to be there. Like I said, the need for motorcycles is nationwide. Hindi lang po siya sa traffic. It's actually the primary mode of transportation pagdating sa probinsya. And malaki po Pilipinas. We have 100+ million population. There's a lot of room for everybody, small business, big businesses, to enter into this different type of aspects. Sa akin po, protection at equality, equitable access to everybody, at yung wala pong pang-aabuso sa mga rights ng ating mga mamamayan. Yun po yung aking panaginip, yun yung aking pangarap, at yun yung laking advokasya, and yung patuloy-tuloy kong gagawin habang papayagan po ko ng mga katulad nyo, ng ating mga media friends, ng ating mga komunidad, at ng ating mga kaibigan at kapatid sa industriya.
Wow, that's an inspiring way to end this conversation. The Chief Transport Advocate of Angkas, Mr. George Royeca. Open for Business will be back. Stay with us.
Ang ibig yung sabihin, dumami ang basura sa ating barangay.
Aha! Bakit ang daming basura?
Kayo pala nagtatapon ng mga basura, ha?
Ano ba ang pinariringan mo? Ay, sandali. Bakit?
May solusyon na ang problema natin sa basura. Kumanta, sumaya tayong lahat. Saya.
Namayani ang galing ng second-time qualifiers na sina Willie Cordovales, Maris Mitra, at ang callbacker na si Ken Fraser. Isa sa kanila ang maaaring makatapat ng Luntayo siblings sa semifinals. Kung sino yan, let's find out as we begin the battle for the monthly finals. Ito po ang biggest talent competition on Philippine TV and online. Ito po ang Tagisan ng Galing Part 2 Singing Edition.
Narito ang ating mga featured artists ngayong linggo.
Ayoko nang malaman pa na mayroon ka ng iba. Hayaan nang maging manhid itong isipan. Sa muntik nating sandali, aking minimiti na kapin mo akong muli.
Watch Himig ng Lahi every Sunday at 8 p.m.
Here on
Net 25.
Sa muntik nating sandali, aking minimiti na kapin mo ako.
Open for Business is back, and the term of the week is from ecolane.com. Ride hailing is when a rider hails or hires a personal driver to take them exactly where they need to go. The transportation vehicle is not shared with any other riders, nor does it make several stops along a route. Ride sharing, by contrast, is synonymous with carpooling. It is literally the process in which a rider shares a vehicle with other riders. It is not personal transportation, as the space is shared and it will make stops to pick up other riders. And our word of the week is from an anonymous source. He said, "Doesn't matter what you ride, give respect to get respect." Thank you for watching Open for Business. Join us again in the next episodes of Open for Business for more insights from CEOs, thought leaders, industry experts, and SMEs promoting business development in the Philippines. See you again every Saturday and Sunday here in Open for Business, where we discuss business information, deliver the latest business news to keep you informed and open for business, and be ahead of the curve from vision to action. You're on Facebook Live on Eagle News and at Net25 TV, and you can watch this again in the video section of the Eagle News and Net25 Facebook pages and on eaglenewslive.com. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Net25 TV. Thank you again for watching. For Open for Business, this is Cesar Vallejos. We live in interesting times.